Hello.
Right.
Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Hi there.
Hello,
Hi there.
everyone.
Hello there, Clive.
Hi, Alf.
Hi, Clive.
Hi, Franz. Gosh, it never stops, does it? I was just talking to someone else.
One's not on the YouTube, is it?
Yes, this one is. This is a public one, Alf.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
I'll disappear in a minute then.
Okay. Whatever your reasoning is. Uh, yes. Yeah, they do get a little bit more views. Instead of about, I don't know, as they get a little bit more, it's nothing exciting. Glenn told me that he's got about 450,000 views from his,
Wow.
uh, yeah, from
Wow.
his videos that he showed us that were just launched when he spoke to us about a month ago. Yeah, so that's amazing. Hi, Eduardo. You're muted, Eduardo. We can't hear you. You have to unmute. Can you not unmute? You have to hit the microphone button so we can hear you. On Zoom. Bottom left, there's a microphone button. I'll let you leave you to keep going with that. So Eduardo was on NOAC meetings long ago when they first started, 2 or 3 years ago, and he's in Venezuela, trying not to complain about get you know who too much. So all right, so and he's fine and he's still alive. Great. Okay. Well, enough chat. We know what we're here for. Let's get uh, get it working. So I've got a possible thing that I read today. We could talk about it. We don't have to. Um, and let's get this working now. Yeah. This is our agenda.
Hi, Clive. I'd like to talk about the Albedo Accord concept.
Okay, Robert. Good morning to you. It's 8 o'clock in the morning for you, isn't it?
It is. I have to leave for 1 hour, so I won't stay for the full 90.
You you have to leave in an hour, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, right. So Albedo Accord. Right. Uh, Robert T. Albedo Accord. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think we had a little bit of discussion about that, but and no doubt you've got some more things to say about it. You want to hear, well, so you want to hear people's opinion about it, or you want to present it as an idea again and say some more things about it? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. And Ron, please. Hi, Ron.
Oh, hi, Clive. Yeah, hi, Clive.
Hmm.
I would like to. It's probably more of an announcement. I just want to give people a heads up, though, about the Mike and I are in the final stages. Mike, sorry, let me get away from these dogs. We're in the final stages of finishing our uh, open letter that we hope to. It looks more like we're hoping to publish to counter the Sigurd et al. It had like 43 signatures or whatever. So we'll be soliciting signatures and posting that probably within the next week or so, is my guess. Initially for the urgent response group, and then for the greater list. So just want to let people know about that. It's
Uh,
quite important, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So this is action on cooling, then, is it? What? Sorry.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the heading of it? What are you calling
The
it?
Polar Engineering paper that came out a while ago. That was
Well, it's not the paper. It's actually in. Uh, let me get the title for you if I can. But it's
A short
evil.
title. What did you? I didn't quite
Yeah,
catch
so it's
what you
big. I
said. Just
can't remember the exact title, but it's an open letter advocating immediate testing of SAI and other and testing and deployment of other cooling methods that can provide near-term global cooling.
So
some
SRM,
of
shall I
them don't
say?
need to be tested. So, what's that?
SRM, can I say?
Yeah. Well, no, we're trying to be a little bit more specific. Like, SRM is this euphemism that people have been using.
All right.
But,
So SAI and would another one
SAI
be?
and other near-term global cooling methods. Yeah, but we do say in the letter that we believe SAI at this moment is looks like the most uniform, most able to give the largest amount of cooling in a very short time, et cetera, et cetera. So, but we also say, we need to try all the other things as well.
So MCB might be in there as well.
Help.
Yeah, I got
What's
that.
Yeah, MCB's in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tropospheric aerosols in there.
Yeah.
The IMO letters in there, all that stuff. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So we'll talk about that then. Open letter, which you're which you're encouraging people to sign. And you've been working with Mike McCracken. Okay.
Yeah. We'll start with the we'll start at the UR group and then we'll expand to everybody, Yeah.
What's the UR group?
Well, Clive, you and friends were invited long ago. You never responded, but it's the Urgent Climate Cooling Response Group.
Sorry.
We thought you should be there because, TAI. Yeah, that's okay.
I should be there, Ron. I should be. I should be. Unfortunately, I run out of energy. I can only do so much.
Yeah.
So I'm there with you in spirit, if not in body. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Clive.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'd love to be there. Anyway, there you go.
Anyway, so about 20 people are in that group, and then we'll expand it from there. But those are people that have been working on it for a while. So, yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ron. Chris, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in relation to what Ron said, the Royal Society has just issued an updated briefing on solar radiation modification. I'll stick it in the chat. It's really probably related to what Ron's going to talk about to some extent, at least. So it's not really necessarily a separate subject, but we might just briefly talk about it.
Okay. Related to above. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any thoughts on COP? Because I just saw something. Am I sharing? Yes. I just saw this thing. This is a British guy, Diter Helm, and I quite like his.
He's the past head of the climate change. What do they call it? Or was up until recently.
The committee.
Climate change committee.
Right. The parliamentary committee. Right.
No, not Parliament. Nothing to do. It's not Parliament. It's a separate body.
Oh, separate
standalone body that advises the government.
Right. Yeah. So what he says makes a lot of sense to me. And he's basically saying there's lessons, so we could just go through these lessons. If people think, he's basically saying, yeah, what can we learn from COP? Basically, it's still not making a difference. Essentially, bottom line. So I'm proposing that. I'll just go through that.
Good.
Yeah. He's Helm lessons on COP30. Right. And anything else from anyone else that could well be enough? It's kind of two.
You've got your hand up, Ron.
Still got your hand up, Ron. Ron is probably just still doing his walk.
We could add the dust up over Stardust, but anyway, yeah, I'll lower my hand up.
the dust up over Stardust. I'd be interested to hear that. I've just been hearing about their $60 million, which they seem to get very easily.
They've got more than that now.
Have they?
They've got some more money.
Right. Who should I put down about that? Maybe you, Chris. I put Chris, Ron. Stardust.
Well, Gregory suggested it. He should do it.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was Ron saying it.
That was Ron.
No.
But I was going to raise the same question of, I mean, this is driven by finally reading this long piece in Politico on Stardust, which we've all been familiar with Stardust for a year or so, but there's a very long piece which has a lot of details I hadn't heard. So yeah, I'm interested in that.
Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about Stardust. Okay, all right, let's get started. I think that's enough. Robert, please, the Albedo Accord.
Right. So the the background for this is that I wrote an article in the Hill published about a few months ago, introducing the concept of an Albedo Accord modelled on the Montreal Protocol, with the argument that just as the Montreal Protocol enabled the world community to manage the ozone layer, we should consider that we have an albedo layer which is in crisis, and that there's a similar narrow-focused need to restore the albedo layer by protecting clouds and snow and ice and aerosols and other sources of albedo. And so where I'm at with it is that I'm writing a book about it, and I've engaged a publishing agent to assist me with the production of the book, and I'm eager to open up discussion with the HPAC and NOAC community about the content of the book. And the essential purpose of it is very deployment orientated, in that I wish to engage with industries who face commercial risk from darkening of the planet, and encourage them to fund a lobby group to stand up an Albedo Accord on the model of the Montreal Protocol. So that's where I'm at. I've currently got the book outline and starting to write it, and the identification of the key industries who are affected, such as insurance and banking and agriculture, defence and energy, tourism. The whole question of how to lobby those industries, how to work with them to get them to recognise the primacy of albedo. One of the ongoing worries that I've had is the whole balance between albedo and carbon as warming forcing, and so Hansen's argument that warming since 2015, that the albedo component of warming since 2015 is equal to 40 years of emissions, suggests that albedo is 4 times as serious as the greenhouse effect from new emissions as a driver of warming. But I haven't been able to get anybody to. I've been asking people to engage on that. I gave a talk at COP30 in the CDR pavilion that Dennis Garrity organised, and I included this claim that albedo, that Hansen analysed albedo as 4 times the effect of emissions, but I still haven't got anybody to engage on whether that is actually what Hansen meant, because it's quite obscure. So I'll leave it at that and see if anybody's got any comment.
Right. So just make sure I understand what you're saying about this. That Hansen meant that the loss of albedo in the last, what was it, since 2015, is equivalent to 40 years of emissions. Is that what you're saying? That it's not clear?
Yes, that's right.
Right. Well, because there's other things you could take from that, is that it's caused. It's a feedback effect. The loss of albedo, is it a feedback effect? Because causation is not the same
Yeah,
as correlation, is it?
it's primarily a feedback
Other way.
effect, but it's also a forcing itself especially in the loss of sulfur.
Yeah. And
Like
also,
the feedback about clouds and ice, and the forcing is the various sulfur aerosol impacts of declining coal and marine diesel.
yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Well, also, last 2 weeks ago, there's a little bit less, there's less biomass in the ocean. People say half as much, but it varies depending on what you're talking about. But we all know that phytoplankton produce dimethyl sulfide, which becomes sulfur dioxide, sulfuric acid. So there's even where there were never any ships, hardly at all, right out in the open ocean, well, we're far away from shipping lanes, we can expect there to be less sulfur in the air because there's less life. Life produces sulfur, and so that's another potential reason for loss of albedo. And whether less life, less phytoplankton, could be a sort of secondary feedback, feedback of a feedback, because with there's stratified ocean surface doesn't mix as well, so the nutrients from deeper layers don't reach the surface as much, so therefore there's less nutrients for phytoplankton to thrive on. That, in some areas that could be a reason why there's I'm not sure it's half as much sulfur.
Well, Hansen's calculation that he published on the components of albedo loss were clouds 60%, snow and ice 30%, aerosol 10%, roughly.
Yeah.
So the aerosol component that's got everybody agitated, quite rightly, is actually only a small proportion, given the massive cloud loss. So this raises another major issue that I want to point out, which is the whole question of whether cloud loss constitutes a tipping point, because it's simply not recognised as a tipping point, and people maintain that it's not. But let's go to Franz.
Let me just say that I just want to say this, because there's aerosol and then there's cloud aerosol interaction, and
Yeah.
so it's whether it's a feedback, and he's measured the amount. Sorry, Franz. Yeah, Franz. Yeah.
Clive, I think our new project, he could mention this.
Mention our new project.
The ammonia sulfate project.
Yeah, we'd love you to mention that.
Our opinion is, in the pre-industrial time, there had been much more animals in the sea. And on the shores of the sea, which lived from birds and seals and so on, and whales. And they produced lots of feces and organic things which produce ammonia.
Yeah.
And this ammonia emits from the sea, depending on the pH of the sea. And in these old times, there was much more ammonia in the air, and also much more dimethyl sulfide from in the air from much healthier phytoplankton. And also the pH and in the photic layer is slowly going down. And we have the idea of using ship transporting to use for scrubbing, a new kind of scrubbing, by producing ammonium sulfate to make bright clouds and additional, and not only the albedo increase, but also because meanwhile we know that clouds produce OH radicals and methane depletion and so on. That's on a project. Maybe you can mention this in your book.
Well, so the way I look at it, Franz, is that an albedo accord on the model of the Montreal Protocol would be responsible for coordinating research targeted towards effective deployment, and so it would have a scientific responsibility to do proper at scale field tests of all of the relevant technologies,
Yeah.
and so. Like, you know, the general view is that that SAI is likely to be the dominant cooling method. But like, I think that you make a really good point that iron chloride and potentially other chemistry changes.
I'm speaking of ammonia.
Yeah, I know.
It's totally different.
Yeah, so
Iron
like
trichloride can be a catalyst in the system, yes.
Yeah, so it may be that that some of the innovative concepts, like this one that you're raising now about ammonia, Sev's work on nanobubbles and buoyant flakes, like they may prove to be cost-effective ways to restore planetary albedo, but I suppose the part of the problem that I have with the urgent cooling process that Ron has championed with Mike is that it's talking in a bit of a vacuum. It doesn't have the political legitimacy to actually prove any of the claims that it's making, and you know, a large scale coordinated scientific testing program is what is required to move progress towards deployment. And yeah, so thanks very much, Franz. That's really good.
Yeah.
Like Clive, I've had enough. But if other people have got thoughts, the only other thing, there's many other things to mention, but the key thing for me is that I have engaged an agent who will help me with the initially with the strategic pitching. So Alenka is the author. She's written a book on business publishing, and I'm targeting it as a business publishing book. But the whole process of launching will require funding, and I'm eager to raise funds to launch it effectively. And so I'll open up a discussion firstly with the HPAC steering circle about that, and then there's the potential for people to invest in it as a project with possible return on funds from book sales.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine a thing like that could catch people's imagination. Yeah. The Albedo Accord. We're losing the brightness of the Earth. It's causing an accelerated warming. And there's, a big cost. There's a huge cost to insurance companies because of the warming, because of obviously extreme weather events, forest fires. There's huge cost to the insurance industry. They're the main ones that pick up the tab each time. But of course, community. So I can see it could. You just don't know. Suddenly, some people start talking about it. Albedo Accord. What's that? What's that? This is the new sort of becomes flavor of the month for a while. Everybody learns what albedo is. And the fact that the Earth is losing it, and this is accelerating the warming. and there are solutions. It's nothing to do with carbon. Well, it's sort of related, but it's not the same thing. It's a different kind of solution. I can see it could take off, Robert. Who knows? We just don't know. So
I wanted to jump in on the Politico article about the Stardust, and I sent some comments to the HPAC email discussion about this that a couple of people started. Fascinating article, long, 10,000 words, and but as is typical of mass media, just full of appalling negative stereotypes. And I think that the whole advocacy agenda to say that the benefits far outweigh the risks is going to be a key element here, and just the whole advocacy to the public to explain why sunlight reflection rebrightening the Earth is essential planetary infrastructure is just a form of argument that just hasn't really hit the public space, and so that's what I'm wanting to present.
Yeah, great. I mean, circles I've moved in, I'm out there teaching data stuff, so it's nothing to do with climate change. Nobody mentions climate change. There's no mention of it. There's just nothing. I mean, okay, it's a bit work related and everything, but even with chatting off, when we chat, having lunch or something, or coffee break, there's no mention of climate change. When I talk about, I'm interested in climate change, I feel like, I've got leprosy or something. So it's too much of a problem. The kids, they've got so many, I call them kids, but they're people in their 30s and 40s that they can't afford a house. There's all these rules about what you can and can't say at work now as well. They've got so many problems, and to include climate change on their list of problems. I mean, obviously many people do. We've got Jesper here who's that kind of age, but I find most people it just doesn't come up in conversation. It's too big a problem. Or it's just got so many issues. It's not cool. It's not flavor of the month at all. So
well,
I think
it is in one sense. Like here in Australia, we've had the opposition, the federal opposition, have repudiated net zero by 2050 as a climate strategy, and so that's raised a whole public debate about that. With of course, they're immediately tagged as climate deniers. And I met the leader of the opposition, Susan Lee, on Sunday, and I said to her, "Look, you don't want to get this climate denier tag. So the only way that you can challenge the decarbonisation primacy is through solar geoengineering." And she was like, "Oh, what's that? Never heard of it."
Great.
And she said to me, "I'll research it," but it was sort of in a sort of fob off sort of style. Talk, but like great to be able to talk to the alternative prime minister face to face. And she's got a bit of a spring in her step because our Minister for Energy, Superman Chris Bowen, has just been appointed as the president incoming for Turkey's COP. They wanted to have the next COP in Australia, and Turkey wouldn't back down, so it'll be in Turkey. But the Australian Minister for Energy and Climate will be the president. So, but he's an idiot, and it's really interesting to see that whole debate. But that's enough for me.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, Roy. That's great. But we should keep going with other people. So yeah, right. So what's next on our list then? So Ron Byman, please. The open letter advocating immediate testing and deployment of SAI and other near-term cooling methods, please.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, great. Okay. So I did open the preliminary draft. Mike has, but just to be clear, there's not just Mike and I. There are a bunch of people that have offered suggestions or responded to them. It's been a long process. So, and some of those people are.
Who responded to him?
Anyway, they're,
Who responded to Mike?
Oh, well, a bunch of people. So we had. This
people.
actually was kind of initiated by Andrew Lockley, and then a whole bunch of people. Robert, Chris, and Herb, and
it's on the
a bunch of people. Let's see who else.
Yeah, people,
well, it's on the UR.
Great. So I thought you
list,
mentioned a particular person, but you're just saying people.
Just want to make that clear. Yeah. And Mike has now done a final review. I think he's sharpened the initial summary for policymakers. So it has three parts. The first part. So I don't want to, it's a draft, so I don't want to, share it really. But the title right now is Open Letter in support of immediate applied science testing and piloting of stratospheric aerosol injection, and support for other near-term global climate cooling approaches. So I know it's a mouthful, but it's meant to, the Secret et al. Letter, as some of you may know about, came out in, I think, Frontiers of Science. It had 43, I think I counted them, signatories. It's created a big splash, basically saying, it's a waste. We should not be, they're basically saying we shouldn't even do research. It's a waste of time and so forth. And it's a really very, very extreme position that they've staked out. It's kind of like the banning, GO people. Anyway, so this would be, hopefully, if we're able to, I'm going to AGU 25. I'll try and publicize this, but basically we want, somewhere at least 40 some signatories, hopefully more, and hopefully the institutional access so that we don't have to pay thousands of dollars to get the thing published. But anyway, and then it has three different. So the main opening, the key, summary says every year of delay increases damaging impacts. Stratospheric aerosol injection is the most studied and scalable near-term opinion. So it's 1, 2, and then there's a paragraph explaining, supporting, and then finally, complementary approaches deserve parallel investigation and support. But anyway, and Mike has worked on strengthening these things. So, and then there's the actual letter, which is much more detailed with all kinds of citations and stuff, backing up all those points. And that runs on for a while. And then there's the technical appendix, which includes the near-term global climate cooling chart that is now on the HPAC website. In the middle, you can see there, we've talked about that quite a bit. There are 12 methods, 4 in the top tier, 4 in the second tier, and 2 we don't think would scale up rapidly enough. So those just to give people an idea, even though and that's all explained how that was developed. But the 4 top ones are reducing methane emissions. It's something we can do right now, and that has a near-term cooling effect. Just need to prioritize that. Polar stratospheric aerosol injection. So this relates to the Stardust thing. I really think to gradually do this responsibly, that would be a lot quicker, first of all, because the tropopause is lower and so forth. You could actually do that. And you could also test locally because the stuff falls out locally. It doesn't, spread all over the globe and for a year or more. Then global strategy. So hopefully you build trust and confidence. Then you get global aerosol injection. And then finally, the 4th in the top tier would be catalytic reduction of methane, which is, I know you and Clive and France have been working on that, also Oswald and so forth. I mean, it's a little bit, it needs to be studied and tested more, but if we could get a lot of that methane out, then we could also have, in our estimate, up to about 0.5 C cooling pretty quick. We're trying to get cooling by 2050. And then the second tier, anyway, I don't want to, you can see, but IMO, the black carbon, the tropospheric aerosol, the marine cloud brightening next year, and then the last one is afforestation and sunshades that we don't think could happen soon enough. So that's the letter, and then finally there's a whole bunch of references and stuff that I'm currently working on, and that will be coming out hopefully very soon. And I just want to give people a heads up to take a look at that. And I really, we're saying basically, you guys keep talking about this peak shaving, by 2035 or 2050, but we're not going to be able to do that unless we start actually working on the actual deployment, applied scientific testing right now. We can't just keep on doing modeling and be able to peak shave by 2035 because it's an engineering thing. I mean, Clive, and you gotta try it, and then you probably have to adjust and change, and it's a process. It's not like you get 100% confidence and then you go out and do it. So it's that that's where we're really aiming at our near allies. It's like we got to be much more specific about what we need to do if we're actually talking about reducing the risk of AMOC collapse and all this other stuff. We need to start working on it now.
Totally.
So that's the purpose
Thank
of
you.
it.
Where was it on the HPAC
Yep.
website? I was trying to find it on the HPAC website.
Oh, the chart is right in the middle of the website. It says, "What's the plan?"
On the home page?
And there's a PowerPoint there. Yeah. And then slide 8 of that PowerPoint is the chart. And it has all the links to the references and stuff. We haven't put the draft letter on the website because it's a draft yet, but
okay.
Certainly when we circulate it, if we get enough signatures, it will certainly be up there.
There it is. Yeah, great. So all this thing.
Yeah, what's the plan? It's in the there you go. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So slide 8 of that.
Yeah.
So that's the chart that we spent a lot of time trying to put together, and I know we've not everybody's completely happy with, but we're looking at things that could be feasibly scaled up really quickly to provide major global cooling within 20 years really, because to get the cooling you need another 5 years for it to work. So it cuts off a lot of
Got it. Ron, yeah, and so you're looking for obviously if all you do is modeling, then nothing ever happens, does it? So it's actually turning it into action. Yeah. Okay. Brian, please.
Yeah, Ron, is your paper actually proposing the polar aerosol injection before the global?
No, the letter is very general, so we're not trying to go into those specifics. The chart makes a claim that the polar would be quicker. It's like 15 years, and that it would be easier to ramp up quickly. So that's in the chart. It's ahead of the global, but in the letter itself, the text of the letter, we just say we need to start doing applied scientific testing of SAI. We don't specify poles or wherever. It's meant to be very general. So initially we've had some conversations with Doug on sort of private conversations, but it's Mike and Doug in particular that there's stuff to be worked out in how the aerosol is emitted and whether it can form a decent aerosol and all kinds of stuff. I mean, that this gets into the Stardust.
What's the relationship between what's the relationship between the chart and your letter?
So the letter is what people the appendix. So in the letter we say SAI and then we emphasize the 4 other main methods, or a number of other all these other methods that we think should also be worked on. And then in the chart we specify exactly our thinking. It's in the technical appendix to the letter. There's a chart. And the chart gives all the details of, how we've gone about trying to prioritize these things and why, based on what criteria, and all the references for all the methods and so forth. So it's meant to give it a little bit more heft, in terms, if we want to get this published, let's say, go ahead.
Will you include the chart in the letter?
Yes, it's in a technical appendix.
Okay. That sounds helpful. If the chart's in the letter, then it gives you a kind of a timeline and suggests an incremental pathway, which is encouraging. The one thing I would ask, both in your title of the letter and also in the body, is to incorporate enough of the, kind of skeptic feedback or a little bit of review before we send it out that would, with an aim towards having the letter being a somewhat of a unifying or consent-based process as opposed to polarizing. I just see there's so much polarization going on in the world, whereas deliberative discussion is something that I think would be highly newsworthy. And I wonder how we might identify a framework with at least a couple of notable folks that aren't normally in the geoengineering camp.
Thank you, Brian. And I should have mentioned everyone that Brian also had some was an early, comment on the letter and stuff. So, but I will we will send out this final draft that Mike is, because I really want to make sure that Mike is on board with it. So he's got the final, particularly the summary for policymakers, which honestly is probably what most people are going to read. And then we may need to tweak that. So we will definitely send it around to the certainly first the UR group and then everyone else, and say we really welcome, we invite signatories, and if you have a very specific suggestion that would make you more comfortable with this, then please let us know, or that kind of thing. But we
for those of us uninitiated, UR stands for what?
Urgent response. So it's urgent climate cooling response. So we turned it into
right.
That's helpful. Good.
So I think what Brian is saying could be crucially important, Ron. It's hard enough for us to agree amongst ourselves what we want to say, because we all think something slightly different. But actually, when it gets out there in the big wide world, you get people who there's all this polarizing happens. Eduardo, suddenly we can hear you. I'm going to have to mute you, possibly. Eduardo, please mute yourself.
Hello.
Yeah. Please mute yourself. There's some noise. That's it. Yeah. So this whole thing about polarizing. So do you think you can put another kind of pause over the writing, Ron? Look over it from the point of view of who's going to pull this apart, who's going to object? Can we sort of address these objections before they even start objecting?
I think so this has been quite a torturous. We've had some a bunch we've had a lot of discussion along those lines, actually, including many others. So but I am certainly open to any other ideas. The thing is, we don't we want it to be relatively short. We did this 30-page paper that goes into detail, all the addressing a lot of those. So I think I agree that it would be great to we want to get as many people on board as possible. And so it would be good to acknowledge that we certainly are aware of all the possible issues that people have raised. And we said all these copious references to that and so forth, but if there's some some sort of short language to put in there that would make that clearer, or
the risk.
Then,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's the risk. To me is the risk of doing versus not doing. This is obviously there
along
are
these lines.
Along
these lines, Audrey Tang has a great phrase, and that is finding uncommon ground. So find uncommon ground is, you see, that's the real newsworthy part, is if we can find a bit of uncommon ground with would-be naysayers, like Bill McKibben's a good example, or others. Let's find that uncommon ground and have that be the headline, because then that's actually a big thing that brings people together. He's got that whole third act group. Thousands of people in third act. That'd be great. I'm happy to help build bridges there.
I will send it out. So we have, the risk is highlighted in the summary.
Great.
That's right up there, right in front. If we don't do this, we're basically cooks. So we got to do that. But there was a lot of discussion of who is this letter for, and I think there was the thinking like, well, the public is never going to sign this. This is just way out there in terms of the broad perception. But I think we're trying. This is a more narrow, because we have the Siegert letter out there. That is a journal article that people are referring to and so forth. There was a big debate with John Moore and Operatio Arctis, and that's where this originated. That I was trying to respond to Operatio Arctis or make a comment on their response. So it's a little bit more, I think, in the nature of our close allies, the people that are already sympathetic, people that have been publicly supporting research. All the other groups, research, and we're just trying to move the ball one notch. And Doug McMartin when I did the SAI workshop, actually, this is anyway. He made a comment on chat. That Ron, I agree with you. We need to start testing now. So it's not, in that sense, it's meant to be. Look, we're not wild, crazy people. We're not saying flip a switch and do it right now. We're saying we need to, if we want to do it in 15 or 20 years or whatever, as soon as we can, we need to start working on it now. That's all we're saying. So
yeah, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's right. Who is it talking to? Because a lot of people will just, that's right, they'll just get ignored for the most part by most people, but then that's right. So, and you have to just keep going, keep going. All right. Thank you. Robert, please. Robert.
No.
Tulip.
Look, I like it, and I'd be happy to sign on. But the problem that I have with it remains the governance question. That is, it gives an excellent assessment of what is to be done, but the key question, how, requires consent and a process to manage and fund. And so that's what I'm interested in as far as the Albedo Accord proposal, because it essentially aims to provide a transparent scientific way to expand this desktop analysis to field testing and deployment.
Yeah, I mean, you have different approaches, but it'd be great if you could somehow be allied, and if it could somehow, if each approach could magnify the other approach, and help the other approach. I know they're not the same, for you it's a book and it's the Albedo Accord, and for it's a sign-on letter making a very strong case that we need to get on with it now. So would you?
Still, I'm interested in Ron's response on how, does the letter say anything about how this is to be progressed?
We're trying to make it very general, just so people can get on the simple, idea that we need to start applied testing now. We don't want to divide people up by, some people say, we have, as Robert, in our governance discussion and PowerPoint stuff, we have various scenarios that, that could develop for getting this on board. But we don't really want to get into that kind of detail in the letter, because we want it to be, really focused on this, so that people like you and people like, hopefully others who understand the need that we need to get on with it can sign the thing and not get all involved in, how exactly it should go forward. I mean, we're not, we have to think, it could be a coalition of willing, could be unilateral, could be an international accord or something. It could be, there are a number of different ways that this could happen. Could be some private, when we get into the Stardust thing, the various ways to move this forward. It's just not
really
clear. We don't want to really get into that in the letter.
Yeah. So there's probably people here who haven't seen it, who would be grateful to read and comment. I've got it, and I particularly like the comment. There's abundant evidence that the potential societal benefits of a transparent and intergovernmental near-term global cooling program would greatly outweigh the risks. So that's to me that's a hook into the Albedo Accord. And then the sites that you give from Irvine and Harding and Cambridge papers, I'm going to review those as just key questions of how do we go about taking this forward.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. And Brian, you have your hand up. Did you want to say something again?
Yeah, I would just ask reviewers here and elsewhere if they would please review with an eye of how is this letter going to be different than an open loop exercise like Alameda, unless we actually bring in the thoughts and comments from, would be deliberative critics and actually refine it a bit to find that uncommon ground. I'm worried that, stunts like Alameda actually set the field back rather than forward. And if it doesn't have that deliberative discussion, wisdom in it, and that uncommon ground, I'm worried that it could set the field backwards in polarization.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to provide constructive thoughts on how we could get there. I just think we want to avoid more Alameda-like scenarios.
Yeah. Maybe talk to why do you talk to other Ron? Do you talk to people like, we haven't seen Daphne Weisham for a very long time, and she had a lot of connections with Bill McKibben and others, and the sort of climate coalition or whatever it was called, and brought a lot of people on board with methane at the time. So methane is kind of on the map these days. Do you talk with people like her? Sometimes it's just having lots of connections. I mean, Dennis has a lot of connections, doesn't he? Is that part of your
Dennis is I mean, we've as you know, Mike has been trying to get Oswald on, because he's a catalytic methane reductor. We try to get you and Clive, involved, but let me
we're
get
already
this
on
out,
side,
because I think
it's not that
okay,
it's on
okay.
side. There's
Thank you.
armies of people out there that with a different opinion. They're sort of from different climate groups, who are against this or that.
Right.
Getting all them, I don't know, Sierra Club. There's so many of them out there. We're on board already, so there's nothing more to get from us. Well, other than our time with So, but there's all these people that sort of campaign against this sort of thing, aren't there? And there are people that Daphne was absolutely wonderful. She brought these people and said, "Look, we do need to remove methane. It does need to be addressed." And they came and said, "All right, then." So that's it. I think it's all this networking and but I mean, I'm totally put to shame. Some of you have been to COP and everything. But I think that's what it's going to. You can word it as carefully as you possibly. You can never make it 100. You can never make it watertight, can you? You can make it a bit better, and it'll be a little bit better for this audience, and it'll be a bit worse for them because their eyes will glaze over or something. Do you know what I mean? So there's always another part of it as well, which is all the kind of networking and talking to people you wouldn't necessarily normally reach out to. And actually talk to them sometimes. You hope that they read this stuff, but maybe they're not going to read it, and so we join into their meetings. We have to be kind of gregarious and out there, don't we? Or some of us, those of us that got time and energy. I think that's part of it as well, Ron.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But and we're trying to do that, right? I mean, but I think we also need to be very strategic in points of leverage, because we're a very small group, and so we're trying to do. Some of you may have seen the Iceland. I'm trying to work on the Iceland people for the IMO thing, and we're trying, in this case for the letter, we're trying to work on the people that are reading the Seeger stuff, for example. It's sort of very strategic at this point, but of course, the more people we can convince, the better. It's just not. It's just how to do it.
Great.
Yeah.
So maybe part of the strategy is to get the big names signed as well. I mean, Mike McCracken should be a big name because he was a former U.S. chief climate scientist, wasn't he? And maybe get some other big names like Jim Hansen and I don't know. You could get Michael Mann on there. Yeah.
Well, the one thing that's really important, and just so people know, is we really need somebody that has an institutional affiliation if we want to get this published. So we need big names, and we need somebody whose institution has a deal with, let's say, Oxford Open Climate Change for publication. So that's also important.
Like we had Bill McKibben would be good. He's got quite the name and the affiliation. Bill McKibben has Bill McKibben has an affiliation at the University of Vermont.
He's just going to totally reject it on moral grounds.
It's going to be, he's Doug's been working on him for years, and so so let's see if we put it out for signing. Let's see, maybe somebody will. Stephen was our guy for the cooling paper, and and then Alan Gadian did the IMO. We always have somebody with an institutional connection, and that's really important.
But anyway,
Good.
but the more signatures of climate people in general, the better. We want to show that there's broad support here. So yeah.
But what about that whole
Yeah.
GeoMIP community around Visioni and Kravitz and Tilms and so on?
I'm sorry, Robert. What?
There's the GeoMIP community around Visioni and Kravitz and Tilms.
Yeah, that would be excellent. Like Doug in particular and Visioni. Yeah, that would be excellent. And that's what we have to see if they
Doug
would be willing to take this one little extra step. We'll see.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they? Why shouldn't they? Yeah.
Well, because it's because they're still on the research only. Yeah, it's just
they say
funding and everything else.
It's not time to actually do any cooling.
Well, their problem is governance. They want governance first, and they're also the problem with Visioni and the whole academic community is they maintain that it is not their job to decide. They're just providing information. This is their stance. This has been the stance of the scientific community that, far be it from us to advocate for anything, even if it would save our own ass. That's their position, and they'll have to break with that someday because scientists do take positions, but they're still hanging on to that because they think they'll be ostracized if they say we should do that. We should do initial tests. That's the way I read that.
Well,
scientific reticence.
Sev?
Scientific reticence.
Yeah, right.
But that's why I view the business community as the essential catalyst. But I wanted to hear from Chris Vivian.
Yeah.
Well, I agree that the business community is willing to do things that they think are in their interests. Yeah.
Chris Vivian, please. I think you might be muted, Chris. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Yeah, he's not muted, but he's got no sound.
Maybe your microphone's got unplugged. All right, we'll come back to you, Chris. We'll come back to you. We do want to hear from you.
There's an opportunity here to call it field research, and that actually just frames it a lot better. It's the same thing, but it's clear that the field research step is less polarizing than testing and deployment. Those words are really going to throw a lot of people into fear and opposition. So there's a lot of phraseology that can be used here where you get the same message across, but you do it in a less polarizing way.
Yep.
So just a few suggestions. Happy to provide more.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. No, what I was going to say was there is that group about, I can't remember what they're called now, but like a sort of fair consideration of SRM type of, can't remember the exact title of the group, but that's out there, as well as there's SRM 360, and I think it's more the academic folks in that area.
You're talking about reflective. You're talking about reflective.org?
No.
Oh, it's a lot cheaper. Just deliberation on solid geoengineering.
Yeah, no, that wasn't who I was thinking of.
Yeah, we should target all those people. Yeah, for sure. SRM 360. Pete Irvine's been very active, and I really think there's a lot of these folks privately are totally with us, but publicly is the problem. And that's what we're trying.
I think the important
move on.
thing is, can we close the loop? Can we actually close the loop and not just have these open loop, send it into the ether, but actually close that loop and have the deliberative discussion and find that uncommon ground? That would be really helpful.
Yeah. Maybe these guys' job. Who was saying that just now? Was it Ron?
No, that was Brian.
Before that, it's their job to be a scientist, and they don't want to lose their job. Basically, they don't want to lose their funding for saying the wrong thing. If they say, yes, this needs to happen, they're putting themselves at risk then, aren't they? They're putting their job at risk because they'll then be attacked and say, well, no, you're stepping out of line. You're supposed to be a scientist. You're supposed to give us the options. You're not supposed to start throwing your weight around. That's for policymakers. You don't even know your job, do you? So, you lose the funding. That, I think, isn't that what they're worried about? Is this where this scientific reticence comes from?
That was Greg's point. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just repeating the same
yeah. No, that you know, I agree. I mean, Mike is
Okay.
quite exceptional in that he is willing to
Well, Mike's retired.
be Republican. He's retired, right?
That's
So
right. He has nobody can hurt him.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is a big part of the problem. I know it from economics too. You know,
Right.
the institutional hegemony is really really
All
effective.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's often the NGOs, isn't it, that are problematic. They've got their opinion.
Yeah.
And
The funders.
I'll just say once again, Daphne Weishan, she knows Bill McKibben. She's known him for decades, and she brought him on board on, methane removal and iron salt aerosol. And so they're getting a lot of funding now, the Copenhagen people, to research iron salt aerosol. So she was instrumental in that. She did this quiet talking behind the scenes, and then she won them over. And so I'd definitely say, Ron, reach out to her, and just there's no guarantees, of course. She might say no. She disagrees. Yeah.
So Clive, you know the adage, when you propose something, then it becomes yours.
Yeah. I got to do it now.
Anyway, we'll send out the letter and urge everybody to reach out to all their contacts, and obviously.
Okay.
So
Ron, I put the link to the Alliance for Just Deliberation on Solar Geoengineering in the chat. That's what I thought Chris was talking about, but I'm not sure.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's that picks up on Brian's point. But I mean, my fear is that a lot of the political left is just never going to get on board with this. That it's going to be something that's driven by the commercial world. So that's. We'll see how that pans out as the debate progresses. Like, remain open to all sides, but push on the doors that open.
Yeah, we're stuck between the left and the right. I mean, that's been a huge problem for sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There we go. Thank you, everyone.
I'm going to go. Bye, Clive.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah. Bye-bye. See you soon. See you again soon.
I'm probably going to have to bail out too.
Postings.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Ron. Okay. Anyone needs to leave, goodbye. Thanks for being here. And we'll continue for another 30 minutes with those of you who want to stay with us. Was there anything to add, Chris, about the Royal Society update on SRM? Did you say that? I missed it if you did.
Yep. I've posted the link in the chat.
Okay.
Which you'll be able to see. The other thing I've just added now is there's a paper I just came across which says stratospheric aerosol injection does not cause stronger Asian monsoon drying than greenhouse gas mitigation, which sounds like a bit of a different to some of the stories we've heard in the past, at least. So because there was a lot of concern that SRM would cause failures of the monsoon. That was one of the big issues for it. Anyway, this paper, which I put a link in the chat again for, saying that maybe that isn't necessarily that sort of problem.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it depends what kind of SRM. I mean, what is it saying? SRM?
Well, I think this is SRI. I assume, this is SAI.
SAI, right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. But even then, SAI it depends how you do it. There's all kinds of options, aren't there? And you might be able to do it this way or that way. Anyway, okay. Yes, thank you. So that's helpful because so many people. I suppose it's impossible to get a full view, I suppose, unless you're so engaged all the time. It's your job, you're in the UN and you just talk to everybody all the time about this whole subject. Then you kind of, I suppose, people like David King, he's met a lot of people over a long period of time. He knows the general opinions from here and there and how to move the needle, but we just don't. I just don't know. I have to say. I learn about the science as much as I can. Even that's hard to keep up with. Okay, so what else then? So you put the link there, Chris. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And so, I mean, what goes through my mind is I'm struggling to stay up to date with all this, and I'm expecting that I'm not trying to say anything here, but sometimes I think, well, why do they keep coming to these meetings? But I suppose the format is that everybody can speak. It's not meant to be me speaking all the time. It's meant to be you speak. I'm not saying other meetings go that way. Right. So what's next? On their notes. Right. So yes. Oh, that was going to be so.
That was going to be Greg, actually.
Was it on?
Well, he raised it.
Yeah. So what do you want to do then, Greg? Do you want to talk about this?
Well,
Give us a brief synopsis of what it was all about. Stardust.
Yeah, I mean the article was really long and it went into a lot of history. There was an enormous amount of background material that I think a lot of people here are familiar with. But the fact is that this company Stardust, which the public became aware of it sort of in the popular press maybe beginning of 2024, and I think they've been working since 22 or so. It started by a couple of physicists who basically were from, I don't know, I think the weapons program in Israel. They're Israelis. It's an Israeli startup, but they have a strong connection to the United States because that's where they hope they're trying for venture capital funding, and one of the latest progress from their purview is they got 75 million in sort of a round of funding, which is chicken feed for the climate space, but is the biggest for any kind of SAI. I mean, they're doing SAI. What they're doing is they've come up with proprietary aerosol, one or more aerosols that they're in the process of patenting, and they claim they have, they're patenting deployment techniques, which I guess means how you actually either put out the aerosol in whatever form the aerosol is, and the aerosol is proprietary, but they claim it's an aerosol it won't disrupt ozone, and it won't be toxic in the way that sulfate products are. So they claim they've got an aerosol that at this point they think will answer some of the objections to SO2, and that it'll be ready to go within a couple of years, and they want to get enough funding to be able to do their own tests in the stratosphere in a very short time scale. But they claim that they want to do it they want governance in place. They still claim that they're after governance in place, which I'm not even sure I believe they really want that, because that will take forever. But if they're trying to do that, if they're trying to test very soon, it's hard to believe they actually are being honest when they say they want to have the world basically give them approval. I think what they basically would like to do is the U.S. government to sanction it. To give them permission, and give them money perhaps, and planes perhaps. But there's they go in the article. They go through the usual sort of litany of what science, the objections from people critical of any kind of cooling or certainly SAI. They go through the whole story, the background story that we all know, and sort of bring the layman up to speed on this. And so it's a really long piece. But the bottom line is that these guys are closer to actually, in terms of money, and in terms of a product that they are trying to push, in terms of actually doing experiments. They even claim that they've done open air experiments, but what that seems to be is that they've, I don't know, dumped some stuff out of a Piper Cub or something from 20 feet up or something. I mean, it's ridiculous.
We've no idea what it is.
I mean,
we don't even know what the chemical is. Do we know what the substance is?
No, the aerosol is they're not saying, as far as I know. Nobody, I've never, and basically anybody who they've been actually consulting with people in the climate community, including some people we know, but they all have to sign an NDA. So there's now, some of the academic climate scientists that we interact with know what the chemical is, but they are forbidden from talking about it or saying what it is. And in fact, in the article, they they interviewed Visione and Keith, and Visione, in particular, said he refused to sign the NDA. So he got no information. Keith, I think, may have signed it but he said, Keith said, you shouldn't do this. This should not be a for-profit adventure. But of course, they are funding it with venture capital, and venture capitalists don't do things for thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know what Keith imagines they're supposed to do. But I guess the only thing I would take it is my position at this point, and it probably differs from a lot of people here, is that I'm in favor of I believe that the biggest roadblock to moving forward on cooling of any kind, and certainly SAI, is the demand for governance at any scale, for a governing and regulatory body to be formed and then make the rules. And I think there is currently an imaginary ban, which is effective because it's sort of a ban of shunning within the scientific community, that you can be shunned or lose, so that there's a de facto ban on any testing, and it all is pending this imaginary world governing body in the distant future that be formed as a prerequisite. And that's, I think, and so I'm in favor of unilateral action to the point of tests which can not possibly hurt anybody, but are religiously banned, and those would include things up to tens of kilotons, which would we do put 50 megatons of the stuff in the atmosphere right now. So I mean, I am actually in favor of these guys. I think I'll be happy if these guys just do it unilaterally with their funding at these tiny scales. And I think the reason for that is I think that it will puncture this imaginary ban, and that I think has a possibility of opening the discussion in a way that it hasn't been, and forcing any kind of regulation to be considered in a serious way rather than just put off and endlessly, which is what the anti-SAA crowd wants to do. Is just use this as a tool, they've weaponized regulation, the regulatory body, as a means of preventing anything, because they don't want to do it, and anything they can do to stop it from even be considered, because they're focused on mitigation, and they're all on board that they say it like a mantra or a catechism. There's no substitute for mitigation. So in any case, this is interesting to me because these guys are the closest to anyone from doing anything unilaterally. However, at this point, they publicly have said they want they're on board with the party line, which is that we're not going to do anything until there's a consensus or they want regulation. They say so that we are allowed to do it. But if they do that, I mean, it's not going to be anytime soon. So I on the one hand, I think that this is interesting because they are the closest to actually, and in terms of money and a product, to actually doing something. But at the same time, they have so far not embraced the idea of going it without some sort of framework.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so it's in some way it's interesting in multiple respects. The other thing is, of course, that they are a for-profit. They are doing this for profit. And the reason for that, I think, is not so much that they want to make $1 trillion, is that they, rightly saw that that's the only way they're going to get any money. And they did. They got 75 million, and they wouldn't have got it if they hadn't have VCs on board, and VCs want a profit. So these are interesting aspects of the Stardust situation, as far as I can see it.
Yeah. It sounds quite interesting to me because I can imagine everyone's trying to understand, how do you get something done? And what they're saying is, we've got something that could work, but we're not going to do it until there's some governance in place. And I mean, I'm going to talk about the Diter Helm's comments on COP, which is basically saying they're now being a bit more honest and saying, look, we're not going to do anything. We're going to drill for more oil. There's going to be an increase in carbon emissions, so stick that, in your pipe and smoke it. And so uh, if that's what's going to be happening, then it makes a stronger case. Look, nothing's going to be done about climate in the near future, about carbon emissions, CO2 emissions in the near future. And so we absolutely need these cooling technologies. And so therefore, and people are saying that they've got something, but something that they're ready to start testing, but they're not going to do it. They're being responsible. They're not just going to go ahead. They're not going to do it without regulation. So we need to get the regulation in place. So this is kind of what they're saying, that come on, you regulators, if you want to have a habitable climate in in the near term, you're going to have to come up with regulation so that we can start testing this stuff. Because look, that you're now admitting that you're not going to stop your emissions. That's what I see. So they seem potentially quite strategic. We don't see all these we don't see the conversations people are having behind closed doors, but I can imagine that these conversations could be happening. And so it seems to me they've got a sensible strategy to say, look, we're not going to do it without regulation. Robert, Chris, please. Yeah.
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Robert.
Good.
Yeah.
Hi. Yes. So I came to the meeting late, but this is an interesting topic. Can somebody tell me, in this quest for regulation, who is regarded as being the agency or the body that is going to A, devise the regulation, and B, enforce it? I mean,
it's imaginary. It's imaginary.
Well, there's ocean regulations.
There have been suggestions.
There's the UN regulation on the law of the sea, isn't there? And there's the IMO regulate emissions.
Why would they get interested?
Well, I'm not saying it'd be them, but
they wouldn't pick
possible.
those. So the UNFCCC has been suggested. Someone even rather farcically suggested the CBD, which would be a total ludicrous because they have no legal powers.
Who's the
but
CBD?
Effectively, they'd have to form a brand new governance regime, like they did for the Montreal Protocol, something like that. And
why would the UN pick this up? Where's the driving force within or outside the UN for them to put the effort and the investment into making that happen? The governance.
Well, at the moment, the more likelihood is they'd form something to stop it happening than to actually enable it anyway.
I have great difficulty with this because I can't see what the mechanism is whereby this governance is going to emerge.
Well, how about insurance companies, Robert?
Insurance companies, forget them. They're irrelevant.
Yeah, but Robert, when you get the international treaties, they start with nothing and no organisation, and then you form one to do what it is you want to do. So, as with all of the various treaties, things I'm familiar with, the London Convention, UNCLOS, the new High Seas Treaty, all of those started with nothing, didn't have any organisation as such. In one or two of them, the UNEP sponsored the High Seas Treaty, I think, amongst others.
But there must be a champion, let me put it that way, at a senior level in the international community that said, look, we really ought to do this, and that has convening power. That has convening power to get people around the table.
Well, you get enough people to agree that you need to get around and talk about it, but you don't need a specific organisation necessarily to begin with.
No, I suppose what I'm talking about is who or where are the people that have the convening power to start this off? That's probably a nice way of putting my question. Of course, things happen, but at the moment, I think that I don't see the impetus for it at the right levels.
No, I agree. At the moment, there isn't the impetus. I mean, for example, UN Convention on the Law of the Sea was started at the impetus of one person who was from Malta, a guy called Arvid Pardo. He was the driving force that actually ended up many years later with the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. But that is he was an official. He had some official status, and he presumably later was able to pull other people in who also had some official status, and it gradually built up until they had enough influence to be able to say, "Yep, let's go and do it." Still took 10 or 15 years to negotiate.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't understand why you're saying insurance companies, the reinsurance companies. Why do you think why are you saying they're irrelevant, Robert?
Well, because the insurance business is going to die. They are not going to be insurance. The whole concept behind insurance is it is a means whereby risk can be pooled, and it always assumes that the peril which one of the insured suffers is not suffered by everybody all at the same time. Because if it's suffered by everybody all at the same time, there's no way that the insurers can earn enough premium to cover all the losses.
Yeah,
and that's what you have here. You have the structure of the peril is that when it really bites, it's going to be very widespread, and there's no way the insurers can protect themselves. So what they are doing, and we see it already, is that where the risks are becoming uncommercial, they simply withdraw from the market.
Yeah. So their market is shrinking.
And indeed, their market is shrinking, but they would rather their market shrink by withdrawing at a profit than investing more in loss-making business.
Well, but there's not that much to invest if it's just forming a new body, a new UN body.
No, but why would the insurers do this?
Well, because it doesn't cost much, and they stop their market from shrinking.
Well, okay. I mean, it's a nice thought. I find the links there are very tenuous. Yeah, I do. I think
the insurance industry.
Go on, Chris.
I was just going to say the insurance industry. Somewhere I read recently that they basically said, if things get too bad, then they won't be able to insure full stop across a wide range of things,
exactly.
Just like that.
Yeah,
they'll just pull it. And in fact, there's many parts of the world, even in the US, you can't get insurance if your house is near the shore on certain parts of the US coast. There's no insurance available at all.
Yeah, so it is shrinking.
Widespread.
Yeah,
but it's already happened.
It's already happened.
I think that if you are imagining that the insurance companies or the reinsurance companies are going to take on a political role to this nature, listen, it's in the future. It's unpredictable. Of course, they might.
Yeah,
but I can't see the commercial mind taking that position. It just isn't where they come from. That's not how their brains work.
No. Well,
yeah.
They're human beings. They don't have to be fixed minded.
No, they are human beings, but they are self-selecting in a particular group.
Yeah.
That is, like most other groups, that is subject to groupthink.
Yeah.
All right. The way
we'll see. Greg, please.
Robert, can I ask?
Wait. I think I was next in line.
Oh, sorry, Brian. Go on then, Brian. Yeah.
Really? Well, I have my hands up before you, but go ahead.
I didn't see that. Go ahead, Greg, if your hand was up earlier. That's the protocol.
Oh, you have your say. Please.
Yeah, basically, Los Angeles had fire damages this year of nearly $300 billion. The magnitude of the insured claims was only 40 billion, about 12%. Why? You know what happened? 7 months before the January fires, the insurance agencies just started canceling policies. They knew something and weren't talking about it. They just didn't renew policies and they canceled them. And the result was the California public bared the brunt of these non-renewals. And I personally think there's a direct relationship between the loss of sulfur aerosols in Southern California and the wildfires of January 2025. And I don't think they're talking about it. I think they just didn't renew policies and they canceled policies. And the result was most of those and Angelinos, from Los Angeles were left bearing the brunt of properties that burned.
Mm.
The reinsurance companies knew. The insurance companies knew.
Mm.
There was a huge amount of cancellations, and this is exactly how civilization unravels.
Well, yeah.
And it's not going to be very many years before this happens in Florida and happens in other places. It's already getting hard to insure.
This is the iron logic of capitalism. I mean, that's not an ideological statement, but this is what it is. This is how capitalism works. And when it's working well, it's great.
Mm.
But
to me, they have an incentive. If they don't want their market to continue shrinking, and if they can see that what's needed is a governing body to govern so that people can get on with keeping the place habitable, and actually bringing habitability back a little bit, and even restoring ecosystems like kelp forests, then I don't see what there is to lose for them much.
Well,
a few $1 million.
The silver lining here is that California has put in legislation that mitigation efforts can be deducted in taxes. It's tax deductible expense of the insurance companies, which is good. The bad news is 98% of those insurance companies in California are just walking away from the table. They're walking away from the business, which means they're not really doing their job. They're just, in the good times, sure, they'll take the premiums.
They're
bad times, just walk away from the risk.
They're absolutely doing their job. They're protecting their shareholders' interests. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Well, that is I would claim in the dark triad, that's actually psychopathic behavior to focus on profits at all costs. And that's why every organization we created is a public benefit corporation with triple bottom line responsibility. But it's psychopathic behavior, and we should recognize corporations for what they are as constructs. They're just machines. And those machines, this is classically, provably psychopathic behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
That time
Brian.
Greg got in.
Yeah, Greg. Yeah. Because we're running out of time.
Well, to that specific point, I mean, maybe you guys can tell me this aspect of capitalism in its raw form. I mean, why don't the insurance companies don't have to walk away? They could just say, here's what it'll cost you, and they just get their, it'll cost you $1 trillion to insure your home, and whoever wants to buy it. I mean, that's capitalism. The price is automatically fixed by what the market will bear. So I don't see why necessarily insurance companies can't just elevate their prices. Eventually, they may not. I mean, the price is so large that they don't get any business, but they don't have. They can, as long as they put their prices as the assessment of risk, they can keep operating, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A quick
we know
answer
what
to
this
that,
is about.
Greg,
This is
the following.
Yeah.
A quick answer to that is that they already know there would be a highly organized furor if everybody's premiums increased by an order of magnitude. However, they very carefully, they saw the risk was getting too high. And if one by one, everybody's insurance either gets canceled or non-renewed, it's like everybody's just having a relationship with their insurer. They don't see the big picture. And so that was a very quiet way of walking away from the risk. And then sure enough, they're on the hook for only 10% of the damages.
Yeah.
So that's very common, more acceptable.
Yeah, let me just say, this is the prisoner's dilemma all over again, isn't it? It's tragedy of the commons. We're all going to lose. Everybody's going to lose, and capitalism works by gaining. You survive better by doing whatever your job. You protect your shareholders. You make money. Everybody gets wealthier.
They protect their shareholders by jacking up the premiums where they can and focusing on the areas where they still can get the premiums in.
Yeah.
And in the UK, there's large areas of the UK which regularly get flooding, and those areas, the properties there can't get insurance, full stop. It's just not available,
right?
Or at least it'd be so astronomical they couldn't afford it,
right? But to me, this doesn't make them evil. It's just the machine, as you say. This is the way it works. But anyway,
should we move on a bit?
And as I was going to read out. Can I let me do this? Read this out, because we've only got 5 minutes left. This is Diter Helm, what he said. where is it? Here. So could you read this? Maybe I'll read it
Yep.
out so you don't have to read too much. Let's get this, a bit more room here. So, okay. So Diter, Helm. The real lessons of COP30. First up, the realization it's no longer a European and UK game. The shifts in world political economic power for the first time sidelined the Europeans. There was no UK climate change leadership to be taken seriously. It is India, China, Russia, and the US that pulled the strings, whether present or not. Second, no major oil and gas producer or coal-burning nation wants to stop. Brazil set the tone. It announced that it wants to be the world's fourth largest oil producer, with drilling to start in the mouth of the Amazon. Third, no one wants to cut their carbon consumption. So there's carbon consumption and carbon production. He always distinguishes between. So we'll keep on buying our things that are made in China, where they emit more CO2 over there. We're consuming carbon that way. We're not producing, we're consuming it. Personally or nationally, the Brazilian carbon footprint includes the flights, the new road through the rainforest, the cruise liners for accommodation, as well as a commitment to its own fossil fuels. Fourth, the real action was on the bottom-up trade issues, notably the carbon border adjustment mechanism and the emerging coalition of the willing with the extension of carbon pricing. So that's a nice piece of good news there, that fourth one. The fifth lesson is that the temperature is going to go on rising. 30 COPs so far haven't made a dent in the carbon concentration in the atmosphere, and another 30 COPs probably won't. So we knew that anyway, didn't we? We've been saying that. Stephen Salter said that to us.
Yeah.
So this is what we long suspected. No surprise kind of thing.
But don't imagine that SRM is going to come to the rescue.
Well, without anybody making it. If everybody sits by on the sidelines and say, look, no one's going to do anything.
But you say that, Clive, but the issue here is that, unfortunately, I'm not saying this with any pleasure, but the same mental processes that have prevented 30 COPs from producing anything of value in terms of decarbonising at a time when it would have been a lot easier because the emissions are much lower.
Yeah.
It's the same mental processes that are acting against SRM. It's not just a few difficult activists and NGOs. It's a kind of a widespread mindset. And this is the big problem, is that so much has got to change. And my guess is, and this is the tragic scenario that we've boxed ourselves into, is that probably we've got to have 1 billion or 2, and I did say billion, not million, 1 billion or 2 people die prematurely through some climate-induced disasters over a relatively short period of a decade or so, before people actually say, oh shit, we really have to do something here, and galvanize themselves into action. But of course, as we all know, by then it'll be too late to do much because the die will be cast.
Yeah.
And because the climate system is massive, it's the mother of all juggernauts.
Yeah.
It doesn't turn on a sixpence.
Yeah.
Well, but in answer to that, I mean, there's a difference between cases where we refuse to act. In the case of climate change itself, you're asking economies and corporations and such to change, and they have money at stake, and they're against it. What's against SRM is not the corporations; it's the liberal establishment. That's the bottom line. That's what's forbidding any even testing. It's not the corporation saying you can't do that. It's the condemnation of anybody who talks about it, and that's not the corporation saying you can't talk about it. It's academia. It's liberal leaders. It's Al Gore says shut up. We don't talk about that. That's a different scenario. That's not capitalism at work. That's tribalism or something. I don't know, but it's a different thing, Robert.
Yeah,
there is an element of that, but I think that for me the story is slightly more complicated, because personally I would not support SRM unless there was a parallel commitment for aggressive decarbonisation, because I think SRM at climate significant scale to suppress 1, 2, 3 degrees of warming would be about as lunatic as not doing it. because it just builds up the most extraordinary risk profile over a very extended period that is not controllable. So to me, it isn't the question. There's no moral hazard here. It's not a question of saying, oh, well, we don't want to do SRM because it will interfere with the decarbonisation. That's a kind of ridiculous argument that can be dealt with because we know and we can demonstrate already that decarbonisation simply can't work fast enough. And I'm going to send around in the next couple of days something I've been writing on this subject, which I'll be grateful for people's views on. But the termination shock that people talk about could be absolutely devastating if it happened in the scenario where you had 2 or 3 degrees of suppressed warming. But the point, of course, here is that if that were to happen, it's not going to happen for 150 or 250 years. It's too far away for anybody to have any kind of to get their heads around. And so it's a very challenging set of issues for ordinary human beings to kind of grapple with. And one of the comments I made I remember it was a lecture at the Royal Institution in London many years ago. I was talking to somebody sitting next to me in the break, and I said, the real problem with this climate change thing is that human beings have not evolved to actually be able to deal with a problem like climate change. There's never, ever been a situation where the entire human population has been at existential risk all at once. And that we've had
actually there has.
When?
It was the Togo eruption 70,000 years ago, and we went through a bottleneck. Where just a few
that's a totally different situation. It's a totally different situation, Brian.
You couldn't do anything about it.
The point is that we now have a global population that is 8 billion people, that is organized in a very structured way, and we have not developed the capacity to cooperate in the way that is necessary for a sensible policy exercise to confront global warming. And because we haven't got that history, we've not been through this process before, we're learning as we're going along, and we're not actually learning it very smartly because there are all these other pressures that we've kind of all this other baggage that we're carrying forward. And in a way, it may well be in the grand evolution of things that we have to go through this collapse, because it is the way in which our successors, perhaps our distant successors, will have learned something that we haven't yet learned, and you have to go through the pain to get the gain. So it's a kind of a slightly kind of odd statement, and I can say it with some comfort, being relatively old, but I'm not going to be around to feel the heat. But but I look at my grandchildren, and I have to say, I think that they are the ones who may or may not carry this forward. I mean, I don't know whether they'll be in the right place at the right time, but it's going to be a question of luck as to who survives. And the predictions from Lovelock and Gray that brought me into this topic at the millennium, when they were both claiming that by the end of this century, the global population would be down to about 1 billion. And I thought, that's ridiculous. Do you know what? I think they're probably right. And these were not flippant, careless people.
Yeah.
What I've realized
we're running out of time, so Brian and then Greg, please. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, what I've realized this week is that it has actually happened before. It happened 70,000 years ago with the Togo eruption, and it was a human bottleneck that brought us down to just a few thousand individuals. And what distinguished our species is our ability to collaborate and cooperate. And so I would suggest that, in fact, what really defines humanity is our ability to cooperate and collaborate. And the more people realize that our physical evolution stopped 50,000 years ago because we chose to take care of each other, because what made us enabled to survive, unlike the other subspecies of humans perhaps, or primates, is that we collaborated to find food and to help each other and feed each other. And I think we need to bring that story out. I've added a YouTube at the bottom that goes into this in great detail. And I'd love to discuss it with members of this group after they have had a chance to see it.
That's interesting. They didn't have money then, did they?
Thank you. Well, they didn't. They had collaboration. Go ahead.
Okay. Greg, you've taken your hand down, so maybe that's the end now today.
That's
time to go.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. See you again in 2 weeks. Cheers. This is going to go up for public.
Oh, one question for you, Clive.
Yeah.
is do you make the transcript, the textual transcript of the meeting available? Because you're recording it.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good. It's sometimes helpful because I can search through that rather than watch the whole thing, you know.
Yeah, I attach it to the email, Greg.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay. See you soon, folks. Keep going.